Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. Another Wednesday, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. It is 6 p.m. Pacific, so here we go. Couple reminders, if you are interested in voiceover training with me, you can go to davefennoy.com, click on the Study VO tab at the top, and if you missed one of these Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings, they live on my YouTube channel, which is Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And let's see, I've got a reminder here. Let me fly that in. VO Atlanta is coming up, and at the end of the month, from Thursday the 31st to April the 3rd, that's Sunday. And unfortunately, this is the last one. There will not be another VO Atlanta, at least not under the helm of Gerald Griffith after this. And he's been doing this for just about a decade, and it is one of the best voiceover conferences you can go to. Everything is covered. There's audiobook school, promos, cars, video games, animation, narration of various kinds, commercials, how to build your business. It goes on and on and on and on. And if you are going there, let me tell you about people like me and people who are there, me and people who are there doing X sessions and teaching and being on panels. We want to meet you. Don't be shy. We like talking to people. The whole reason that we are there is to help you move yourself forward in this chosen profession of ours. All right. Well, let's fly out of here. Thank you very much. And with that, I am going to introduce my guest, who I just met. But I was so impressed with her, and I'm just going to bring you on, and we'll do that, and we'll talk about that. And there she is. Well, Kim Hurdon. Yay! Woohoo! How are you, Kim?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Okay, I love your headset there. It's like a gamer set.
That's exactly what it is.
You know, we just met. You have been mentioned to me before by some of my Canadian friends who were in the business up there. But I had a callback for an audition, and you know, my ego's a little like, callback? Oh, don't they know who I am? Jesus Christ. Callback?
Oh, we
really?
did. We were surprised, Dave. We were like, oh, Dave's going to come for a callback. Oh, banner day.
And we did the callback, and your direction was just so clear and concise. It was like, oh, what a breath of fresh air. And, you know, I work with a lot of good directors, but occasionally, but you just impressed me with your direction. And I thought, I should have her on Ask Dave Fennoy Anything and talk about Kim and how she got started. So, Kim, how did you get started in this wacky business?
Well, Dave, let me tell you. A long time ago, really long time ago, I was a busker in Toronto, on the streets of Toronto.
A busker? What is a busker?
You know, standing on the side of the street, playing music for money, throw it in the guitar case, busking,
Okay.
yeah. And that wasn't making me a lot of money. So I answered an ad in the paper, and the ad said, do you love music? I do love music. And so I went to this office. It was a music production house. I had no idea what that was or what they did. And that opened up the world of sort of post, if you will, to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a casting department and voice casting department. And I was there for probably a year as the receptionist. And then the voice casting woman left. And on her way out, she said, I think Kim might be good at this. What? Okay. And so was the start of the career.
And so Kim now and Kim then, how would you judge yourself now from where you were then?
Whoa. Whoa, that's heavy, man. I think I would be pretty impressed with myself. I think my 20-year-old self would go, look at you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how with the age you are now, Kim, judge the 20-year-old Kim.
Poor her. Poor innocent Kim, who didn't really probably believe in herself enough and, made some mistakes along the way. But here I am.
Well, I don't think we can get through this life without making some mistakes. And I have never met anybody that started at the top. I mean, I'm
True.
sure there's some people who financially they were at the top, but in terms of their artistry, their work, nobody starts there. You got to learn, you got to keep growing, and all that good stuff. So, this is a Canadian market. Here in America, we kind of think of Canada as America Light, and yeah, you speak the same language we do, but you've got that funny accent. Hey, get out and about. That kind of thing that a lot of Canadian actors learn to hide when they come down here to act. But more and more, I keep running into not just actors who have come from Canada and are killing the game down here, but seeing actors that are up in Canada killing the game. And tell me about the Canadian market. Now, you do video games, you do animation, commercials. And I said it in the promo, I'm going to say it again, that you have been dubbed the Queen of Voice. And that from the union in Canada. The Queen of Voice.
That's me.
Where's the crown? Is that the headphone?
Right? I should get one. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Canadian market, and before you get into that, those of you who are listening, what are your questions about voice acting, being directed, doing auditions? Any questions you have, go and start typing those bad boys up so we can get to them a little bit later on. So, Canadian market.
I know, and see, that's a tough question to answer because it's much the same as the U.S. It's, as you said, it's America Light. So up here, I would say the difference probably is that we do a whole lot of everything, and down in the States, because the market is that much bigger and the population's that much bigger, that you can specialize a little bit more. So we've sort of got to spread it out, as you said. I cast everything, do voice direction on everything. We kind of have to be jack of all trades up here, I would say.
So, I kind of understand that because looking at the people in this business, I know some animation and game directors that do both. But as the video game industry has grown, most of the directors here that are directing video games, that's what they do. And the directors that direct animation, that's what they do. And commercials, that's what they do. TV promos, that's what they do. Do you do any TV promos?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now that you mentioned it.
Oh, something
No.
you're not doing.
Hey, what the?
Now, I bring people on, to ask Dave Fennoy anything, and I get away with it because I get other people to answer the questions like you. When you're training actors, because you do a lot of training, and I should pull that up. Let's see, there we go. You have a company, KH Casting, and not only do you cast a number of things, but you do training there. And from your first job there, how long have you been, when did you start KH Casting, and how long have you been training voice actors?
Who? Kate probably. I had a partner before solo, so I would say we've probably been around for about 15 years, maybe a little longer.
Okay.
And most recently, it was just myself and a fellow named Craig, who I've worked with for that long, for about 15 years. And the past couple of years, I would say 3 or 4 years, we've now expanded. So we've got, I think, I should know this, but I don't, 5 or 6 voice directors now, I think. Some on staff, some sort of more freelance, and a bunch of different casting people as well. So yeah, we've probably got like 10, 12 people.
Wow. And I know you started this business and you'd been doing this business for a while. How do you choose who your casting directors are. What criteria, what are you looking for in a casting director that says, yes, this person, but not that person?
That's a good question. Really good question. Thankfully for me, I'm looking at experienced people. So I want someone that perhaps has worked in a talent agency and done direction there for the in-house house stuff, or someone that's worked just directing other genres. And then I'm like, well, I really need an animation director. I think they have a good ear, and so they sort of train with me and sit in on sessions with me. And the other way that I've found probably the last 2 or 3 voice directors is I recently partnered with a school, and I think you mentioned this too, called On the Mic Training.
Yes.
So we're the East Coast affiliate, and seeing them and dropping in on their classes and watching them coach people, I'm like, yep, you have an ear, you're good, you're concise. And so finding people in that way too, that's been really helpful for me because I get
Yeah.
to sort of watch them in action. Yeah.
And speaking of that, let me just, on the
Oh
mic
yeah.
training,
You're
which
good.
now, what I read was this is the only accredited voiceover training in North America.
Yeah. Which means, I know, because most people say, what does that, what does accredited mean? You can get government assistance to go to voiceover school. So it's a 6-month program, the full-time program,
Mm-hmm.
and you're learning all of the genres. Which to me, when I sort of signed on with them, I thought, oh my God, that's landslide. That makes a difference. Because as you know, most voice actors are only getting experience on the job. So you walk in to a dubbing session for the very first time, poop your pants, and hope you're doing well.
I hope nobody smells it.
Right? Yeah. And so you get to sort of do audiobooks and promo, as you said, and commercial and animation, and you get to experience all of that and do dubbing. And before you sort of set they send you on your way into your professional career. It's a really good program.
And
Yeah.
that's interesting because I know a lot of people who are like me who do a variety of genres, but I know a lot of people that are, well, for lack of a better term, one-trick ponies. And when I say that, I think of the late great Don LaFontaine, who may have been a
Yeah.
one-trick pony, but that was one hell of a trick.
Oh, the best.
And I mention that to students sometimes. Well, look, you don't have to do everything. You just have to do at least one thing really, really well. People
Yes.
sometimes get intimidated by, I've walked into the room and the voice actor next to me, I say, hi, how you doing? And he says, hi, how you doing? Right back to me in my voice. What? Everybody has their own set of talents. Just bring yours to the game, to the party, and do your thing. I've got a couple questions already and a couple of hellos.
Sure.
Perhaps you know Ellen Dubin.
Oh, Ellen Dubin.
Ellen Dubin. Hello, fabulous people. Want to thank you for doing this, Dave and Kim. Queen of Voice is right. Okay, you got a cosign there. Wait, there's more. Yup, Queen of Voice is right indeed. Wow.
Look at my fans.
You got all your people coming through. DJ K. Kim, what's your biggest pet peeve when directing a talent for the first time? Oh, that's a good question.
I know, and there are so many to choose from. I'm kidding.
Well, what are your top 5?
Okay. First off, not listening. People that want to please. So they just, and you can tell they're not listening because they just, yes, okay, got it, yep, okay, sure, yes, okay, because they just want you to stop talking so that they can take the first thing you've said and apply that and then just go for it. And it's unfortunate because they're missing an opportunity. So being able to sit in the moment, which I know I can't even imagine. I don't do what you guys do because of that. Because I would freak out. I would always assume, Dave, that everybody on the other side of the class was talking about me and saying, "I think we hired the wrong person. Is this the one we wanted?" As soon as I saw that conversation happening, and I would want to cry and leave the room. That's not what's happening on the other side, but that's what I would assume. So being able to stay in the moment, huge. and just listen and take in what I'm saying. Um, this has happened often enough that I think I could mention it. People that do warm ups once they're in the booth. No, I don't like it. See, exactly. Do that outside and then come in. Don't
Yes,
waste
but I
my
want to
time.
show you that I warm up before.
Yes, exactly. Nope, don't want to see it. And again, and this is probably super obvious, but not being prepared. Maybe you haven't warmed up. Maybe you haven't. Sometimes people pick up the script on the way in, and this is for auditions. Just take 10 seconds. Take 10 seconds before you
minutes.
come in just to read it over. 10 minutes, exactly. Show up 10 minutes early. Now, granted, I'm talking about back in the, pre-COVID days. But same thing, when we're doing it on Zoom, you can tell when somebody hasn't read the script immediately. And I mean, that happens in sessions too. I have actors that I sort of clock. If I start a new animated series and I'm like, I don't think they read the script. Crazy. And then the next time they come in, clock it again, and then I realize, nope, they haven't. So the amount of context I have to give to them takes up
Time.
a lot of time. Yeah. And as you know, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So voice direction, a lot of it is just making the session go very smoothly because we are working to a time frame. And so sort of mapping everything out beforehand so that everything does work like clockwork and no one actually notices that you're doing a good job because everything's going smoothly, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, that does make sense. But, they like that answer. Let me say this. In video games, typically, we saw the audition script and we had plenty of time to become familiar with it, study it, make our choices, and do them. But let me get rid of that. But on the job, more often than not, this is the first time you are seeing every other line in that script.
Yeah.
How does that person prepare?
Good one. If it's the first session,
Yeah.
hopefully you get the script beforehand. But even then, again, as you know, it's too much, right? It's like hundreds and hundreds of lines that you're going through. So having the ability and practicing this a lot to sight read and to be good at sight reading is really intrinsic to being a good gaming performer, and just being able to look at something. And strangely, when people get into it, they don't get this part. One line is a scene. Do you know what I'm saying?
Beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, and it's one line. And so it's you in the booth all on your own with me giving you a little bit of context. And then usually, if it's an NPC, you're doing 3 versions of the same scene with one line over and over and over. And so staying in that pocket and being able to just move through that and trust me to help guide you through it instead of, again, this gets back to the question, what do I not like? Trust me. Go with whatever I'm giving you, because I have a lot of voices on this side that I've talked to. I've probably recorded hundreds of hours of this game already before you were there. So just kind of, and I know this is not what actors want to hear, but go with the flow.
Actually,
You know what I'm saying?
this particular actor, I really believe we do need directors. We've been thrown into a world now with COVID and the secrecy of the video game industry, especially, and now animation as well, that they don't want you to know too much about what it is you're doing beforehand. So they're going to give you as little as they can, and you have to make serious decisions before you win that part. But once you're in the session, take that out of my hands a little bit. Yeah. This is it. This is how the story goes. Oh, so I was wrong with that, but you like the acting, great. So away we go.
Yes, that.
I have
Because
a
you
theory.
can tell.
I have a theory. I call what we do when we've got this script we haven't seen before, and now we're working on it. We're being method actors line by line.
Oh, I like that. I like that because it's true.
Yeah,
You're right.
you may not have to know what the lines are coming up, but you do have to know who the character is.
Yes. That's the most important part. And you may have to make up a lot of that
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah,
backstory,
oh yeah.
whoever the character is, because sometimes all they're doing is giving you three adjectives. Well, he's a tough guy, and he's been to war before, and I don't know, he's killed a bunch of people. So now that's all you got.
Yeah.
And now you've got to do sort of, 500 or 600 lines as this guy. So who is this guy for you? So find out who that person is and go with that. And I've had lots of people, not lots, but some film and TV people that have come into gaming, and they seem to be the ones that question the most, which I get because they're coming at it from a very different perspective. But when you start, as I said, when you start to get into it and you find the pocket, you just kind of got to go with it. And
Yeah.
there's not enough time to say, no, so what is he doing here and what? No, 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 no. Just go with it. Because if
Or
you
make it up
can,
yourself. Well,
or
I
make
got
it up
this. Let
yourself.
me add this to it in my head and go.
Yeah. Because of the enormity of the line count that we're working to, you have to be a person that's just going to go with it, or you're going to slow the whole process down too much, and you won't get hired for the next game.
Yeah. How do you feel about prima donnas?
Oh, just love them. Just love them. Can't get enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll leave that at that. I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Lander. Oh, nice pick, Andrew. Hey, Kim, I recently got a video game audition that requested the read be delivered with a cinematic rather than animation style. This is a great question. Aside from the reads being more toned down, can you explain what being cinematic means? Good question.
It is a good question. So you're right in that it is more toned down. I would say, especially for gaming, it rarely, although granted, see, I'm gonna
There are
contradict
contradictions,
myself.
but
There are.
rule of thumb. What's the rule of thumb?
Right. So AAA, generally bigger budget, more cinematics. And that's the feel, is a more realistic feel. So it's exactly what it says, cinematic. It's more on the film side of things. It's real. So I would sit it probably in between a theater performance and a film performance, somewhere in there. So it's more grounded. Again, I'm going to use the term real again, but it's that feel as opposed to something that is more cartoony, anime, heightened, putting on a voice. So you're certainly for gaming, rarely putting on a voice. The voice usually will sit within your own register. And again, because most of the time you're going to be doing hundreds and hundreds of lines. Most of them, some, half, if not more, are going to be barks or efforts and that sort of stuff. If you start to sort of hammer away at doing, 100 lines an hour in a voice that you can't sustain,
Maintain,
you're going
yeah.
to lose your voice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, I got another question here. Lonnie Manella, who directs herself and is fine talent. Is it true that Canadian businesses get grants from the government to hire Canadians? If so, does this make it harder for Americans to work for Canadian companies?
Okay. I can sort of speak to that. Grants, no, but is the law up here, and granted this is going through a union, that you've got to hire so many Canadians to work on a project? Yes, that is true. And so grants sort of depend on that, on what side of the employees that going to fall on. Is it going to be more on the actor side? Is it a director? Is it a producer? The crew or whatever it is. So yes-ish, but that doesn't mean that we can't cast American talent, because we can, just a certain portion of it. So there's a couple of animated shows I'm working on right now, and we cast down in. I'm trying to think if they're Canadian or not, because I think they are. You know what? They're LA people, but they're Canadians. Now that I'm thinking about it, so we can cast SAG actors. We can put them on an ACTRA contract up here. Not an issue. It does come down to budget. It comes down to what my client is looking for and how open they are to patching to someone who maybe doesn't have a studio. So they're going to have to hire, rent a studio in LA, let's say, and patch it up to Toronto if the person doesn't have their own home studio.
And how often
So
does that happen these days?
that
Someone
people
not
don't
having
have a
their
home
own, yes,
studio
that they don't have their own studio.
more often than you would imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Now, grant some people do have home studios. Are they
Up to
professional home
par, yeah.
studios?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
the
see a
problem.
lot of auditions that come that want to sample. They want to know what your equipment is, and they want a sample of your studio. And only one time did I not pass with flying colors, and I think it was their fault.
Of course it was, because your studio's great.
I
Oh
was.
no, I've had actors say, because when COVID started, we would put out breakdowns much the same way. Must have at least Source Connect or a professional studio. Well, and that's why I keep air quoting professional studio, because yes, I have a professional studio, and they come to the Zoom audition and they're sitting on their bed with a blanket over their head talking into their iPhone. That ain't a professional studio.
No, no. And they're really, I'm going to say there's no excuse if this is going to be your chosen profession.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the most expensive professional studio,
No.
but you do need a treated room, a decent mic, uh, great gear to record with, and the ability to be directed remotely and deliver files.
Yes. And a lot of people fall into, well, I have this superb mic. This mic cost me $2,000 and the room isn't treated.
Yeah.
And so they've done themselves a disservice because now this mic is so great that I'm
Yeah.
hearing the fridge that's three floors down. It's just, no, that's bad.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I fed them.
Sure.
Wife wondering, did you feed the dogs? Yeah, I fed the dogs. Got another question here. You can see how much he respects my time in this. LC, hello, Dave and Kim. Kim is a casting director. What do you think? What do you look for in new professional animation voices you've never previously casted? How have things changed for female voices for vehicle ads? Wow, wow. Want me to leave that up there?
Yes, because that's a double.
Yeah.
Okay, so what am I looking for in new animation voices? It depends on what the spec is. So I'm looking for whatever the spec is. I will say, and Dave, I think you mentioned this earlier, most of the auditions I'm getting in for people that are new and haven't done a lot of animation don't understand what the energy level has to be. They don't get it. So if they're coming at it from the film and TV side or even the theater side, it's usually under where I need it to be.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Because you're taught, in school or even throughout your career in film and TV, get smaller. Can you tighten it up a little bit? Your face is really like we're close and you're doing a lot of. But in animation, we want you to be a cartoon.
Yeah.
That is what you have to do. Is super exaggerated, right out of the frame, cuckoo stuff. And so, if you're doing a really good film audition, you're not there for animation.
Yeah.
So my advice would be study the genre that you want to get into. Study it, take some classes, do some coaching, figure it out before you start submitting.
One of the things I suggest, even if you are a person, you say you want to do animation, then you should be watching cartoons.
Yes.
Even if I would like to think that you like cartoons, and that's one of the reasons you want to do animation. But even if you're not a big fan, if for some reason you want to join this thing that you're not a big fan of, you have to become familiar with the genre and what that energy level is and how wacky you have to be.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
see. Got another question here. Let's make
Oh,
that
wait,
bigger.
hold on, because I remembered females in vehicle ads.
Oh yeah.
Last question. Yes, there are more. There weren't for years and decades and a long time, but now absolutely. I would say it's probably half and half. So yay, chicks.
That's one of the things I've noticed, especially over the last several years, is a lot more work for women. and a lot more diverse work. I
Yes.
know in the United States here, it used to, they would have a code, American voice, and it meant white guy.
Really?
Yeah, and
Fascinating.
that's not the case anymore. They don't typically just say American voice; it might be standard American, but that I've seen black, white, Asian, Latin, male,
Oh yeah.
female, because I think most of us are becoming more attuned to a society that is diverse.
Well,
All
that's
right.
exactly what it is. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of that in animation as well. The asks now are very specific as far as ethnicity goes, and we're casting authentically, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
what should be happening and what always should have been happening. And so now we're trying to make up for it. It's way too late.
Yeah.
But the other good thing is that I'm seeing a lot of writers and creators and directors that are BIPOC that are now in the room on
Yeah.
that side. So they're writing authentically for these characters
Yes.
as well in stories. It's great.
Absolutely. It takes everybody from everywhere, in every room, to make this thing diverse and as it should be. And we'll get
Yeah.
greater points of view. We'll have
Yes.
programming that touches people in a more realistic way.
Yeah.
All
Agreed.
right, another one. J. Horace Black. Kim, what is your rule of thumb on approaching copy? As a step by step, when the directions is several paragraphs and the actual copy is 2 or 3 lines, been there. And are you in favor of actors leaving lead in or pre life lines in their reads? And from something she said earlier, no!
That's right.
On that last
I'm going to
question.
assume, yeah, this is probably commercial, is what I'm thinking this is a question about. And yeah, no, no, no. Yeah. Lead in and pre life on in commercial stuff is a big no no. Because what's happening on my side is, if whether you're sending a self tape or I'm directing you, we're going to send that final into the client. They're going to then choose probably their top 2, 3 contenders, lay that up to picture so that they can present to their client, who would be McDonald's at that point. So sending to the ad agency or the music house, they then present to McDonald's, let's say. So the closer you can get to having it actually sound like the commercial, the better. And so doing it to time to me is a great bonus. I would absolutely do it to time. Granted, sometimes writers write too much stuff and they don't figure it out until the session.
Is it?
So
I'd say it's more than sometimes.
me too. Me too. Oh yeah, you're right. They do. But if you can say it and not sound like say all the stuff, cram all the stuff in there and not sound like you're rushing it, they'll love you. Because
Yeah.
then they can just say, right? Put a whole lot of more words in there, which is awesome. But yeah, the time to me is it's pretty essential. It's going to give you a big clue as to how the read goes too. You know, like if you've got a 30-second spot and you're doing it to 45, it's too languid. It's going to be too slow. So pay attention to that. Use that as a marker.
Yeah. He had another
Yeah.
part of that question, and
Sure.
I've seen this a lot, where you have, half a page of directions, or say it's a video game character of, the life story, what happened to this video game character, just paragraph after paragraph, and then 2 or 3 lines for you to fit all that in. What would be your approach there?
So if the description is like half a page and then the character actually says 2 lines, or in a commercial 2 lines, yeah, that's a tough one. Because the shorter scripts are the toughest. You wouldn't think so because it's 2 lines, big deal. Like Nike, go, just do it. How hard is that? Oh, that's tough. So unfortunately, because of the way things are and technology has progressed so much, you now have to do my job, which is dissect this page long of description and figure out what do they mean exactly. Like I know they're saying, like giving some celebrity reference. Do they want it to sound like that celebrity or not? Or and this now they're saying, Danny Trejo and Alec Baldwin and none of them have anything in common and Macaulay Culkin. Like I don't. What is happening? So trying to disseminate all of that information and then put it into the read, that's a toughie. Um, my suggestion would be try and figure out, take 3 adjectives out of this big long paragraph and apply that to yourself. So just push all of that stuff forward in your own personality and your own read. And I know people have said this quite often, try to connect to the copy. I'm going to say something that is opposed to that, especially if it's a commercial. You can't connect to commercial copy most of the time. It's blah. It's retail and it's not fun to say. And you might, like McDonald's, get a burger for $1.99. Who cares?
And
Like,
you'd never
yeah, I
say
like-
that in real life.
Right. This is what I'm
Hey,
saying.
Charlie, get a burger
Oh.
for $1.99. Let's go to McDonald's. Get him a cafe.
So, right? So, and I know for a lot of actors that works. Really connect to the copy, and I've heard, because I've heard that over and over and over again. If I were a voice actor, which I'm not, but I've directed enough of them, it's connecting to the person that is listening. It doesn't matter what you're saying. So, who's listening to you? Who is the target? Pick one person out of the target, whomever you presume the target to be, and talk to that one person. Whether they're sitting on their couch, driving their car, listening to the radio, it's the one person that you're connecting with. It doesn't matter what you're saying. And I know I shouldn't say that, but that's what I think. You learn the rules of commercial reads, and then you throw that out the window and just talk to somebody.
Okay, I think for that answer. Yeah, that's a question that I get a lot and that I have had in my life. I remember, well, I came out of radio, so I kind of learned early that I don't have to have any connection to this. I just have to say it in a way that sounds like I'm interested, have some energy, and get those phone numbers and directions with the right freeways all in 60 seconds. And that hurts you actually when you're going into voiceover, but helps you when it is that hard sell, that retail sell, that this is not anything that I would ever say in real life.
Yes.
That was a great answer. All right, let's see who else has got some good questions here. Jeff Burns, how you doing, Jeff? Do you find there any differences you notice when listening to demos made for the Canadian market versus those made in the U.S.?
I do. And again, it depends on the genre. Americans like a lot of production, a lot of fancy boop-de-boo explosions and music and a lot of stuff. And that goes with gaming as well. Because up here, they kind of want them stripped a little bit now. They just want to hear the performance. They don't care about all the frills and the cuckoo-ness, if you will, in animation too. You can do both. You can have a really heavily produced one up here as well. But we kind of like them a bit naked up here now. So that's a big difference.
I have a buddy, Mark Esdale. He's a game director in London. And he likes demos with no production at all, which I
know. Cringe.
the only demos I produce are video game demos, and I don't do a lot of them. But my belief is, yes, I want the production there, but your voice, your performance is the hero of your demo, and I wanted it to be your signature voice. Yeah, you can do some accents. Yeah, you may do some character that's little, but it should start with your voice and keep coming back to your voice so they have a sense of who you are. Just like you're not going to mistake all our favorite character actors. Denzel Washington is always Denzel Washington.
I totally agree with you, Dave, and that's smart too, because as we were talking about earlier, most of the time you're using your own voice in a game.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of call for accents, especially now because casting authentically. So working on something like FC6, it was all Latinx. So that was the background. There was a dialect coach there. So if the person didn't speak with that dialect, they at least had the heritage and they were coached
Yeah.
to do that.
Yes,
So it
I've had to
wouldn't
work
be
with some
like someone
dialect
like me,
coaches.
right? Oh, had to, he says.
Well, I do a lot of accents, but every now and then you get booked on something. Like I do a number of African accents and island accents and some European accents as well. But I was doing War for Wakanda, a Marvel Avengers game, and the accent was South African. Not Afrikaner, but South African, of the indigenous people there. And it's different than West Africa. So there was a dialect coach that I worked with beforehand, and she was there for at least an hour or so of each of the gigs. And so you did your take, and you knew, oh yes, that I did that well. I really like the acting, but what does the dialect coach say?
I know. I've talked to dialect coaches too, and they're like, "We know we're the drag," because, as you said, we'll get an ABC on it, and I'll go, "Oh, that was great. Oh yeah, let's take that B." And then dialect coach, could we? I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Oh boy, let me jump into another question here, and this is my question screen. Molly Rock Myers, that's a cool name. I hear so many varying opinions about ad-libbing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on when is not and, oh, that's a parentheses, and when is appropriate. You didn't need a parentheses there.
No, you're right.
When should you ad lib and when shouldn't you?
Okay, so ad libbing. It could kill you, or it could get you the gig. So again, this is a tough one. Use it sparingly, just to start off with. So that's my big tip. Because what's happened is, especially animation auditions, clients often, after the first pass, will say, or second, okay, now, like, Kim, could you have them sort of just ad lib? Like, let's just let them ad lib. Okay. And if it's someone that is from an improv background, ad libbing is a very different thing to do improv than it is to do in an animation audition. Ad libbing in an animation audition means adding a button or adding a couple of giggles or a little extra line like a I don't know, or it's so not rambling on and continuing on and creating a whole new scene, and now you're out the door and you're talking about an orange that's fallen off the tree, and the clients are sort of like, what are they doing? I'm like, they're ad libbing. That's what ad libbing is. So you can't take it too far when they ask that in an animation audition. When we put out breakdowns, we will often say, give us one that is as written, and then one ad lib if you'd like, or do a second character if you'd like, or whatever you want to bring to it as an actor. But again, use it sparingly. Because if you start to, I've got a lot of auditions to listen to. Like, I'm probably listening to 300 or 400 different people do this same part. So if you start, right, can you imagine, Dave? Oh, it's a lot. Yeah. So don't take up too much of my time showing me how funny you are. For commercial auditions, unless it's something comedic, again, I wouldn't ad lib at all, because that copy has been approved and it's gone through a lot of different levels by the time it gets to you. So there's not really any point in doing that, because they won't use it in the end.
Yeah.
And same with gaming. I mean, for some of the more cinematic stuff, you can a little bit, but we're getting down to that time crunch again, and you just kind of got to keep on trucking through their material.
I don't even think of in the video games as ad libbing. I tell my students, look, if you make that first take true to the copy. If you want to add some things, just a little word change here, a little word change there, that doesn't really change what you're saying. If you're talking about breath, size, maybe a little chuckle here, that's all good.
Totally.
But don't change the copy.
Yeah. Well, because there are writers that have struggled with whatever it is, and man, they have to come up with, hundreds of different ways to say grenade. Just leave it. Just leave it
Just leave
alone.
it. All right, let's get a few and move this along. 45 minutes have gone by already.
Oh my God.
Theodore Mezzacapo. What about someone like myself who can sustain multiple voices with auditions for animation and video games? Should I give multiple takes with different characters? Good question.
It is a good question. So in auditions, well, that's what I was just saying, because I've had this question before. So our company, as I just said, we will ask for, give us one that is the spec, that is the ask, and put it right in the pocket so that we know you can do it. Then on your second take, if you want to ad lib and push that character a little further, cool. If you want to choose a different way to go that isn't written into the spec at all, cool. That's fine with us. But I've talked to other casting directors, and some of them are not okay with that. They don't want you to do a second voice that is not as the spec says or suggests. So my suggestion would be, and this is a tough one, try to find out who you're auditioning for. And I know that's probably impossible, and agents most of the time don't even let you know, because you will start to learn their preferences. There is no school for casting direction or voice direction. We made it up. So whoever is the casting person has made up their own or studied with someone who passed on whatever their technique and whatever. So we all do it differently. So we all have different preferences and different likes and dislikes. Try to figure out what we want and what we're looking for, and absolutely follow the instructions. Whatever we're giving you as the direction, not just for the character in the read, but how to deliver it, where we want the slate, what it should be labeled as, what format are you sending it in. All of that matters, because as I was saying, if there's 300 or 400, I don't have time to relabel something. I'm just going to, brutally honest, I'm just going to go, no, put it in the garbage.
And part of that's just because with that many, you're looking for reasons not to listen to something as opposed. Yeah. When a casting director or somebody has so many things to listen to, if you haven't followed the instructions, you're getting thrown out without a listen, because it's, okay, well, there's one I don't have to listen to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Oh, here's one, and I think he disagrees with you a little bit. And
okay,
he says there's pretty reserved, controlled voice acting in many of Pixar's films. Is that because the bar is set higher for going beyond kid audiences? And they tend to be voiced by celebrities that deliver VOs you could just easily see them deliver on screen in a film.
Yes, that is true.
I'm just going to say you're right and wrong at the same time. You'll also find those characters have a lot of energy, but the voices of those celebrities are very recognizable. And the reads, though, may have a little more reality to them because they're people using their real voices. We just recognize them. But I've seen some pretty crazy, wacky stuff with lots of energy in Pixar films.
I totally agree with you. So yes, Pixar is absolutely a little more natural because, as you said, Dave, it is mostly celebrity, and they don't want the celebrity to put on a voice. That's why they're paying them millions of dollars. Yeah, so you do recognize them, and so you go to the movie to see them. But it is a heightened version of their own personality. So it's a higher energy. But I get what you're saying. When we're, again, putting up breakdowns or deciding what an animated show, what the vibe is, and that's another important thing, too, to figure out before you submit your audition. What's the tone of the show? Does it already exist? And if it does, go look at it on YouTube. So figure that out beforehand, because some of them are going to lean more heavily towards cartoony and more animated, and some of them are going to lean more towards reality, depending on who the audience is. Is it preschool? Is it adult? What's the genre? Who's the target?
And we are talking rules of thumb.
Oh, absolutely. Big time. I'm like making huge sweeping. Yes, I agree with you. Because there's going to be different shows that do different things within preschool and within, but I'm generalizing. Yes, you are correct. Pixar is one way and Disney is another. That's another generalization, right? So
Yeah.
Disney is "Hubba-doo, bubba-dee-doo," and putting on a voice, and Pixar is, Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we generally sort of put them in those two pockets just to start with, to figure out, okay, where should the read be? Because it's sort of important before you're sending in or submitting your auditions to figure that stuff out.
Absolutely. All right, quick with Elias Fex. Here's a question. Why is Elias the greatest actor from Canada ever? Please list multiple reasons for 45 minutes. Thank you, Elias, and we're moving on.
Elias. I know Elias. He is. He's awesome.
He is awesome.
Awesome.
I don't know about the greatest in the 45.
The greatest.
J. Horace Black, and the big one. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about somebody else there for a minute. Is if it's a couple lines and they ask for two reads, do you need to make sure they're very different or in the same range with a slight twist? And if it's not specified on a number of takes to send, should we send at least two or just one? And that he's got a couple of questions here. I want to start with the last one.
Sure.
How many takes should I send?
Okay. We will hopefully tell you that in the breakdown. Don't send more. Don't do it. And what may happen is you may submit, depends on your agent too, 3 or 4 to your agent, and they will then pare it down and just send 2 in. So talk to your agent about what they want as well. But yeah, it depends. And then, so the first part of the question, should they be very different or in the same range? Again, this is not a good answer. It's sort of up to you. It's because it has to do a lot with what are they looking for. So if they're super specific about that spec, give the first one that's right down the line, that is exactly what they are looking for. And then, as I was saying earlier, then second take, pick 1 or 2 adjectives and just exaggerate that. It doesn't have to be, especially for commercial, they don't want it to be nuts out of the box. It should be, a 10 or 15% difference. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Yeah. Because it really comes down to the voice and the read.
And if you're talking about video games and you want to give something different in a line, set it up for yourself different. You're in a different place. You're talking to different people. They're further away. You're in a different state. What was said to you was something a little different. There are a million ways to find another way to say a line that will bring some honesty to it without referring to, let me sing this song of this line.
Exactly. Yeah, without, now I'm going to exaggerate this word.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the movies where you see, they went that away. They went that away. We've seen that actor many times. Let's see.
Oh, yes. He doesn't work anymore.
As Ellie Ray would say, nail the script, but be so much more than what's on the page. Yeah, you got to take the words off the page. You got to take the words off the page. Now, let me talk about that with you a little bit. When I'm teaching, often people don't quite get that. Really good actors do. That there's a certain amount of not paying attention to the words that you have to do for the words to come out as real.
Yes. Well, and it's what we were speaking to earlier. It's having a conversation with someone. It's visualizing not just yourself in the situation, as you were just saying. So you're in this booth, and you've got a mic in front of your face, very foreign, and now you've got to be conversational and talk to someone, or maybe you're in battle and fighting with someone, and so act it out. By the way, because that's a big one.
Your body informs your voice.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So using all of that and using your imagination, but connecting with someone or something, or as you said, changing maybe who you are or where you are or whatever it takes for you to move around within the scene, even if it's one line. If it's commercial, though, I would honor the punctuation far more than I would in animation or gaming. The writer has given you a map. This is the comma, this is why pause here, period here, this is a double beat, this is this. So at least deliver it as is, again, for that first take. Honor that punctuation. And as we were saying earlier, once you learn the rules of all of that, of what a commercial read should sound like, then you can start to screw with them a bit and add your own personality and maybe lift something, put a pause where they're not expecting it, start to inject yourself into the script. But for commercial, honor what they have written.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And Emma O'Neill Hart. Kim is the best. I literally just recorded a video to post about her today. Oh. Well, and you know what? I'm so glad to have you on. And one of the reasons is I had heard your name. You'd been mentioned to me from time to time, but I didn't know you. We had never worked together. But something about you in that callback as a director said, oh, she really knows what the hell she's doing. And you really have just delivered so much good information here. Quick thing, in session, what are the things, well, you said not paying attention is one. On auditions that come in, what are some of your pet peeves?
When people are sending in self-tapes?
Yes.
Not doing it properly, as we've said. So not, labeling it or whatever it is. Not following what the spec is. That one always surprises the hell out of me. Like when you're listening to, as we said, a couple of hundred, and you get to the 25th one down, and it's so off that it has nothing to, like, did they not read anything about what we were looking for? That's very surprising to me.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've noticed this over the years. You will get a spec that'll say we're looking for something like this, and often they will give celebrity touchstones for you to. I like it when they give more than one, because then it kind of gives you the idea. Okay, there's a feel they're looking for, and maybe this guy and this guy and this guy and this woman and this woman and this woman aren't the same, but I can pick up the feel. But then you give them what they seem to be asking for, and then when you hear it on the air a couple of weeks later, it's diametrically opposed to what they were asking for.
Yeah. And that happens quite often, as you know. And it's because usually the writer and maybe the director at that point wants something really good, just like we do and just like you do. So they give that spec and we do the auditions, and that's what gets you hired because that's what they want. And then you get in the room, and now the people with the big bucks, McDonald's, are in the room. And they're saying, but couldn't he sound happier? I think he should sound happier. Can you make him sound happier? And so that's when the sell gets put on it. Exactly. And so when in the past, when I've done some coaching for commercial stuff, we will do both reads. So I'll say, okay, let's do the read for the audition. Now we're going to do the read for the booking. And so, because you're right, sometimes it's diametrically opposed. Sometimes it's super conversational storyteller. Hey, how you doing? It's really laid back. And I don't know, you might want to buy this maybe. And now let's do Chevrolet minivan the other way. Yeah. Maybe you want to buy this.
Sometimes it's we have the meats.
Right? Yes. So yeah, it's the money. It's the money that makes the difference.
Yeah. So listen, I promised you 7 o'clock. We're a couple minutes away. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to study with you? I know you do casting, so you're probably looking for a few American actors to be on the roster. Who would they contact? How would they get in touch with you?
Well, they could email, and my email's up on the site. Coaching and classes are on the mictraining.com, or they can go to our site, khcasting.com, and that will direct you there. But yeah, just audition for me. You'll see breakdowns. You'll see now that you know my name, you'll see the breakdowns come out.
Okay.
You'll know.
Okay. Well, it was interesting because, I had no idea, and so often I have no idea who is listening to these auditions. Right. And, more often than not, either get the gig or don't get the gig, or somebody calls me for a gig and I didn't audition. And To put a call back? What? Don't they know who I am? How dare they?
Well, and as I'm sure everyone that's watching or listening knows, you were awesome, of course.
Well,
Come
thank
on.
you.
Ridiculous.
But anyway, Kim, there's nothing but positive statements about you and the information that you shared today, and I like that because it makes me look good. I'm getting good guests. But thank you so much. And once again,
Thanks, Dave.
khcasting.com, Kim Hurdon, and I'm looking forward to working with you at some point in the
Same.
future.
Same.
There you go. And I will let you go and say goodbye, but we will talk again.
You know it. Thanks, Dave.
You are welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim Hurdon. Just amazing. So much great information. And such a nice person. And she knows where the bodies are buried, and she says it all in such a calm way. Love that. If you're just tuning in and you go, well, you're finishing up? Oh, no. It's okay. It's going to be on YouTube in just a little bit. You go to my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training, and you will find Kim there along with all the other Ask Dave Fennoy's Anything. Looking for private coaching, davefennoy.com. Click on the Study VO tab, and you can book yourself. And one more plug for VO Atlanta. Yeah, fly in there. Coming up at the end of the month, the 31st through the 1st. And if you're serious about a voiceover career, you need to consider this. It's very good, not only the information, but the people that you will meet. So just a little word to the wise there. And I guess we're wrapped up. In the meantime and in between time, book something. All right, see ya.